And now my special guest and I are going to show you how to write sales pages that are so good I'll have you feeling like fucking Don Draper in the 1920s, okay? First of all, the most important thing that I want you to understand is that you have to make reading your sales page fun and use ADHD hits. And now this is where this guy comes in. Basically, with fun stuff, you don't need to be a clown in your sales page, right? But every few lines, you want to do this. You see? And then a few lines to get them locked in, you see? Just like this. Before giving him this, he was looking all around, right? That's the same way your readers view. Go down now. You're excused, my boy. And me including the dog in the video was also a little bit of an ADHD hit. I hope you liked it. He's very cute. His name is Dado. But the whole point is that it has to be entertaining. Your sales page and writing in general needs to be entertaining in a way that people read everything. But also when you do use a little bit of that humor, a little bit of a joking tone, people lower their sales resistance. So not only will they read the entire sales page when you have a little bit of fun, but they will also do so with their guard down instead of up, okay? Next thing, which is so important, and I want you to think about this a lot, is do not use structures. I want you to focus on your sales argument. Now, what does this mean? This means that you don't write a sales page thinking, okay, headline, pain points, dream outcomes, proof, urgency, action, price, anchor, whatever. No, you look at the specific case and you think, what argument do I have to do to prove to someone that what they're doing right now isn't good and that it leads to some pain points, and then what do they have to do to get their dream outcomes? And now this will vary a lot based on what you're selling. So it's all contextual. And I really want you to forget about structures. I mean, okay, if you're writing for the first time ever, sure, you can use a structure you found online. But if you actually want to write insanely good sales pages that are way different from what people are used to seeing and so therefore are more effective, then you really need to stop using structures and inject proof throughout. Never have a proof section at the bottom of the page. I also have a whole proof section of this video though at the very end, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. Now, you do not want to do this because proof is boring. They do not want to read it. And whenever you just dump proof somewhere, they just fucking don't even look at it. They just skim it and then it just does nothing. Then you want to think about your warm audience versus cold audience. Again, I'll talk about this a little bit more, because if it's warm, you approach the sales page very differently than if the traffic is cold. It's way more difficult to convert cold traffic than warm, obviously. Stages of awareness are also really, really important. So I'll show you how to do that. Then the big idea is, again, it's a big idea pretty much. What is a big idea? Big idea is the whole angle that you're shooting for. It's the whole reason why someone should purchase this specific product instead of everything else. And I would spend most of my time, if I were you, thinking about the big idea and that angle that I'm mostly going to use to compel somebody. The headline, what every wife wishes her husband knew about estate planning and the IRS hopes you never find out. He was like, oh, let me do what your wife wishes you knew about it. Even though there are so many arguments with which you can argue that you have to know about estate planning, the writer said, oh, the big idea is that your wife wants you to know that. Your wife wants you to know these things about estate planning and be a man, while the IRS hopes you never find out because it's that good of a money-making method. And this is the core of the big idea. The writer did not have to mention wives or the IRS, but they did to make it much more compelling. So this is the big idea. Now, this is the 1920s whiskey drinking, wife cheating, money making, creating process right now, creative process. Now, I do not endorse wife cheating in any sense. I endorse whiskey drinking and I endorse money making. And what I'm about to show you is taken straight from Ogilvy on advertising and the Adweek copywriting handbook. I really recommend these books. Good shit, especially this one. I loved it so much. This is Ogilvy and this is the Adweek. Now, what is the creative process? It's insanely important because the sales page is such a monstrous task. No, actually, I don't want to scare you with it. It's like a big project. And You don't just write it. You don't just like open your laptop and write it. No, you need a creative process for the big idea, for all of these things. And this is how you do it. You stuff your head with all the logical information you can gather. Okay, you do your market research very, very extensively in a very detailed manner. You think about it a lot. You think about it so much, and then you let the fuck go. And you don't think about it at all. You enter the incubation phase, the process, where you do anything but copywriting. For example, Ogilvy mentions that he sometimes would either take a very long bath or get insanely drunk or do both of these things together, I think. Or you could take a hike, see a friend, because your subconscious mind keeps working and making new connections while you're in a creative state. Because your subconscious mind cannot be at its peak creative when it's so focused on doing. That's why you have to do something creative, do something else, where your subconscious mind can process all the information that you memorized, that you thought about, and then make new connections inside of your brain, which is why you will be literally taking a hike and you'll be like, oh fuck, this is such a good idea, even though you weren't actively trying to come up with the big idea for your headline or for your sales page in general. So I do this every time, and I dedicate all my time to the sales page when writing. Immerse yourself fully. Write in environments that make you creative. That's what I do. I find a cafe where I want to work at, and I make sure it's something new. It's something that really sparks my creativity, somewhere where I can look at beautiful women, something where I can look at the beautiful interior that makes me feel great. And then I write there. You don't have to do the same thing, okay? Obviously. But don't just be in your basement like all the time, because you have certain levers to pull with sales pages that will give you such huge returns that are much more important than how much time you spend or whatever. And the creative process is literally one of these things. The creative process and the sales argument and big ideas. These aren't things that you really have to work hard to do, but these are things that when they happen and when they're aligned, your sales page goes from mid to absolutely legendary. By legendary, I don't mean that it just looks cool, but it makes a lot of money. Why? Because the big idea and sales argument are more important than the copy itself. Boom. They're more important than the copy. Your copy doesn't matter as much as you might think. Your wording and how sexy it is, sure, it's okay, it's cool. You should have that. That's fine. But the thing is, if that has a bad idea and a bad sales argument that is tangled up and like very, very difficult to understand and that isn't really even logical and compelling, nothing is going to work. Your sales page is going to suck. But even if your copy isn't fantastically cool, but you're able to nail the IRS and the wife, hypothetically speaking, your sales page will be fantastic. Moving on. Very important. Headlines. Song from Drake. Got too strung up on compliments. I want you to think of headlines as the hook to your sales page. This helped me so much when I realized that a headline is simply a hook. Why does this help? Because this helps you ignore the structures that you usually find online, which is how copywriters just like you are dream outcome without thing you hate in time. It's as disgusting as this emoji is, because it looks like it's giving head to Shrek, to be honest. I absolutely hate it. Anyway, the headline's purpose is to let them know that they're on the right page and get them to read on. It's to hook them. And it's a hook. And a hook should be different than what they've seen. But when you use these structures that people have taught you online, like the 4 U's of copywriting, what the fuck are the 4 U's? I don't even know. I don't even know. And I do this for a living. I write insanely good sales pages, written sales pages that have amassed hundreds of thousands of dollars. I do not know what the 4 U's are, because I don't care what the 4 U's are, because I see it as a hook. And I'll show you a few of my examples and to help you understand a little bit more. If you can imply that something is happening, or you can start a story that really helps people, if you can imply that something is happening, or you start a story that makes people really want to read the next line. And what do hooks do? They make you read the next line. Hope you understand it. Now, let me give you a few examples. I made a course recently. It's called Elite Email Copywriter, which you can only access through joining my email list in the first link in the description. And I also give you the anti-beginner copywriting guide, where you literally become better than your competition with just a freebie. Go check that out. First link in the description. But I start with, fuck you too. Why do I start with this? Because it's a hook, remember? I don't have to give you the big dream outcome, the whatever. I care about being different. And if you see this, you don't even think I'm trying to sell you something. Your guard is not like here. Your guard is like, oh, what is this? This is a bit different. And that's why everything at the beginning for me is a hook. So I discovered this thing called copywriting. And after being in a space for a while, you decide that this is the business you want to commit to. Weird, but okay. I meant perfect, because right now, in under 1 hour for a mere 49, whatever. The thing here is, nobody will start like this. They won't make fun of you. But do you see how many ADHD hits I'm giving you right here? Fuck you too. We're relating. I've hooked you here because there's time for me to give you the dream outcomes, to make the big promises. I'll do that. So if I can have you reading my entire sales page, then I have achieved my goal with this beginning. Next one, which is a bit different. You see here, I did use like a big idea and dream outcomes and whatever. I accidentally stumbled upon the most personalized yet most automated copywriting outreach method on the internet, which I call the Loom Leverage Lab, and now I'll help you land clients almost effortlessly while everyone else begs for attention. Hey there, my name is Alessandro, and for less than $200, I'll give where is the proof, course seller, scammer, you shout, tomato in one hand, torch in the other. You see, this is fun as fuck, if I may say. And it's very creative because I'm not just saying how copywriters are. No. I'm not doing that. Something is happening in this sales page. Remember before I told you that if you can start a story or imply that something is happening, it's going to be fun. Which is why here I say I accidentally, where I also put the quote marks which induce curiosity, stumbled, which you can really picture that I accidentally stumbled upon the most personalized and most automated method on the internet. And this was my big idea, the most personalized yet the most automated, because it's literally true, by the way. I send 6-minute videos that are hyper personalized and I make them in 2 minutes. I don't know how much more personalized and automated it gets. Also, the big idea and why this is so curiosity inducing is because these two things are oxymorons. They are completely like they don't go together. Personalized and automated does not go together. You have contrast right there. And the whole point of doing this is that you just have to know, how do I do this? That it's so personalized, yet so automated. Now I probably have ruined the headline because now you know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't matter really because it's still a great sales page and it's still a great course and you still probably want it. And here I went into what you really, really want, almost effortlessly, while laughing at other people because they literally beg for attention. And then, as you can see, this is all a hook. Hi there. For less than $200, and then you interrupt me. Where's the proof? Course seller, scammer. And I go into the proof here. You see, this sales page has no fucking structure. I thought about the arguments that I need to make, about the claims that I made. And then I said, okay, you know what? I don't need pain points right here. This is not the point. I don't need pain points. Also, this is for warm traffic. So I don't need pain points a lot. I need proof, because if I make a claim that is this fucking big, most personalized, most automated, and also you'll land clients effortlessly, I better fucking give you some proof, because right here, I'm literally calling out what you think. Where is the proof? Course seller, scammer. You shout, tomato in one hand, torch in the other. Now, why am I saying this? Because while I write, I'm constantly thinking, what are they thinking about? What are they thinking about? And then I'm calling that out in a worse way. Because you're probably, right here, you might be a little bit skeptical. You're thinking, is this really true? But I just explode the objection and I say, where's the proof, course seller, scammer? So that your objection in your mind does not sound as bad in contrast. You see how smart that is? Copy that. Feel free. Okay. Next. Oh, up. Now we get to warm and cold audience. Let me just make this a little bit more clear for you. If you're writing for a warm audience, but what is a warm audience? Someone that is familiar with you and your product. So if the traffic comes mostly from your client's email list, or if they do a lot of long form videos like I do, I know that if you're watching this and if you do eventually end up on my sales page, you've probably watched a lot of videos. So you would be considered warm traffic. Now, you don't need many pain points, an identification, or an introduction to you, because they already fucking know you. If they've watched 10 hours of your content, if they've read 17 emails from you, obviously they know you. There is no need to waste words, to waste that hook part by saying, I am Alessandro and I've dropped out of college to be a copywriter, made hundreds of thousands of dollars for my clients. Now I want to teach you. There's no need to do that because I talk about that in my videos. So you already know that. So I can just say, hey, I have this new course and it's really, really cool. You should go buy it. Don't risk boring the reader and get straight into the course, coaching program, whatever the fuck you're selling. Cold, when you want sales from colder traffic, obviously. And that's when you have long pages and you really need to provide exact identification where you're saying, I would be saying, for example, I would say you're a young man or a young person and you're struggling with copywriting, with outreach. You're sending 40 DMs a day because that's what all of these people on YouTube are telling you. And you're relying on this template, but the templates, they're just not really working out for you. You're getting ignored. You see, I'm really just using your exact pain points word by word, how you would say them, how you would think about them. And you're thinking, can I even do this? Am I too late to the game? I know exactly what keeps you up at night, so I can just, provide a lot of agitation. And also, you need to put a shitload of proof when you're writing for cold audiences. You always need proof, obviously, but for a cold audience, even more because they're skeptical. So you need to provide a lot of arguments, a lot of proof, a lot of screenshots, everything. But what is proof? It's possibly the most misunderstood concept in all of copywriting. Because right now, you might have the conception of proof that all proof is this. Stripe dashboards, hundreds of thousands, forget that. I mean, don't forget that. That's obviously great proof. But that is not the only thing. Let's say that this is your sales page and I'm reading it and I'm reading the sales page and then you just were like, and by the way, these are my student wins. Do you know what I do? I do this. I do this. I'm like, oh yeah, back here with proof. Yeah. Oh, testimonials. Fuck him. Let me read on. And then the testimonials just do nothing. So that's not what you want to do, okay? And first things first, I acknowledge that it's boring to read proof. Nobody likes reading proof. You have to find ways to make it fun. Proof must be fun. And again, you don't just dump testimonials at the bottom of the page like most people do. Just read your sales page as you write and think what objection would come up now. I told you that a little bit earlier. And every time you make a claim, you back it up with proof. So either every time you make a claim or every time an objection comes up, you back it with proof. But what is proof? Glad you asked. So proof isn't just this classic proof that you think. It's not just, so you have revenue figures, results, screenshots, sure, but also an explanation or a logical argument. So how does this work? It's a little bit unclear to me. How does this lead to this? Could be an objection, something that comes up in their mind. And you cannot just slap some money on top of that and say like, yeah, that's this is how the mechanism works. No, you have to give an explanation and a logical argument. And the more you can logically connect the mechanism and exactly how it leads to the result and that how it leads to the dream outcomes, you are golden. So that's also a part of proof. Even though you might not conceive of it as proof yet, that is what it is. And you always need to think, what proof will the audience find compelling? Right? Because for an older audience, if you can write 40 years of experience, they're like, ooh, a lot of experience, a college degree, yum, amazing. But a young audience doesn't give a fuck about someone having 40 years of experience because that's just not really our worldview anymore. We care about cold, hard cash, for example, got to 20K a month in 4 months. We want to know that a copywriting method really stands out because we know that if it stands out, it works probably. So if I'll say, I've been in the game for 5 years, you'll be like, yeah, I don't care that you've been in the game for 5 years. Whereas someone who's older might think that. And just extrapolate this to any other piece of proof that you have and any other audience, male, female, older, younger, more sophisticated, less sophisticated, rich, poor, things like that. So for example, rich, poor. Poor would care about got to 20K a month in 4 months, fast. Rich might think might value I retained the client for a year, for 2 years, and these are my secrets. You see, because they think about long-term longevity and sustainability, while the poor person thinks about speed. Now, obviously, I'm not bashing on anybody right now. I'm just telling you that if you're writing to a rich audience versus a poor audience, you also want to think, what is the proof? How is it different? What do they truly care about and want? So that's it. I hope you liked the part with my assistant. He would care. He would love it if you actually checked out the first link in the description and checked out my anti-beginner email copywriting guide, where I'll show you how to write fantastic emails and be a great email copywriter. And that's it.